We are live. Welcome, everybody, to the most fantastic interview in the universe. It is Flat Out, and
Right
Aaron
on.
joins us. Aaron joins us tonight as well. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good, keeping it flat.
Woohoo!
I am well, Amy. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, awesome
Well,
to be here.
thank you both for bringing it all together and keeping it flat too.
Well, Amy, this is your deal, so I'm just going to take a back seat and I'll fill in whenever necessary. If your computer starts glitching and your voice starts glitching, then I'll try to
Awesome.
pick up the slack. But this is your show tonight, so do your thing, honey.
Thank you so much. So flat out, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Oh yeah. I have a real job. I work for a company in management. We do all kinds of stuff. 5 states. We do the entire interior for homes, and so that's kind of my day job. The rest of my I've got 3 daughters, happily married, um, and uh, in my free time, I do Flat Out, and super excited, having just a ton of fun doing that. And I fly racing drones and rock climb, mountaineer, uh, and drink a little whiskey now and then.
Awesome. So I'm curious, what motivated you to start the Flat Out channel?
Yeah, so how did I start Flat Out Channel? I did it by complete accident. I had done some debunking videos to start off, and I got really frustrated with the whole debate and the discourse on in the comment section. I would get highly frustrated, and so Wolfie6020 was doing a challenge, and no flat earthers were joining the challenge. And so I just as a joke did a video as a flat earther, and a lot of people commented that it was funny. And so I thought, okay, I'll do. They had questions about my first one, so I just did kind of a second part, which wasn't as funny as the first. And then I thought, I'm just gonna do a goofy video about the Venishometer, and so I did that, and it just kind of catapulted. So I got into the channel completely by accident. I had no idea why. I mean, I was doing it just because it was fun for me. Yeah, I laughed at myself. I laughed at all the comments people were making. And I found for me personally that the whole tension between the flat earth and the round earth and that whole debate, that I suddenly was just like, it didn't make me as angry, or I didn't get bothered. And I started to
Right.
just have fun with the whole thing. And so, why do I keep on doing it? I do it because I have fun doing it. It's entertaining for people. I do have a personality that likes to do, um, I don't know,
Mm.
shocking things. I like to watch people's face when I do something shocking. So in my own personal life, I do a lot of shocking things just because I like to watch people's reaction. Like I I licked there was a sewer snake. They had to plunge the toilets at a
Hmm.
place where I worked, and they pulled the sewer snake out, and I licked it. Just because I don't know how it happened, but I ended up licking it, and everyone freaked out. And that's just my personality.
Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Any
Yeah.
other exciting things you've done to freak people out?
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I just had friends over the other day, and I have a dog, and he loves balls. He likes to chew balls up, chase balls, and she didn't want to pick the ball up, and so because it was disgusting to her, so I just picked the ball up and licked it. and it just freaked everyone out. And I just love to watch the reaction. Once someone on Facebook had posted an article about all the disgusting stuff that's on the bottom of your shoes. So I just listed picture after picture of me licking the bottom of every pair of shoes I had, and I just kept on posting the picture of myself.
I love it. I love it.
So flat out, just kind of, it's my real personality isn't that far off from flat out, really.
I figured that an awful lot of you was coming through in the presentations.
Right. Yeah. So
They're
like
awesome.
I'll wear earphones with, cat ears and stuff like that.
I like the earphones.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. One thing I'm curious is, do you have help in your video productions much? Because it sure looks like you've got at least one other person working with you on getting it
Camera work
out there.
Yeah, so my family actually helps me. My wife helps me. I don't.
Neighbor kids a little bit in the action.
All my neighborhood reactions are spontaneous because they're out and they're literally usually going, "What are you doing?" And so I'm like, "Hey, you want to be in my video?" And I invite them into the video. None of those are like, I'm never knocking on the kid's house and going, "Hey, I'm shooting a video. Would you come over and help?" They're just out because I'm out, and that's what
And
I'm
you've
doing.
got your loudspeaker going.
Yeah, I've got a megaphone, so it's not that uncommon for my neighbors to know that I'm out doing my antics.
So have your neighbors like banded together to try to get you to leave the neighborhood?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. On my channel, of course, that is what I say. I mean, I say, like pretty much all my neighbors have moved away in character. And if you want to move into my neighborhood, there's a lot of cheap houses. But in reality, my neighbors find rather humorous. And in my next video, I actually cross a busy street. I don't want to unveil it, but my character increasingly goes public, and I'm finding people find it hysterical when I'm out in public, and they smile and they laugh and they take pictures, and I have no idea, when they go home and talk with their family about what they just saw a guy doing crossing the street. Yeah, I'd love to hear that conversation, but I won't get to.
Like your last video where you were you had your 12-foot long shoes on.
Yes.
When that car ran over the tips of those boards, was that intended, or was that like a real stranger that just ran over you?
No, that was orchestrated.
Okay. I figured.
Good
to know.
In a video coming up, I asked a stranger to drive over my shoes, but he refused.
Aw. He just doesn't know how important will become. how notorious even.
Yeah. Are you getting a lot of suggestions for like ideas and experimentalizations from like your comments and your followers?
Yeah, I do. I for one, presently I try to read every comment. And I know I don't get to read every comment. It's hard, the whole comment thing on YouTube. There's days I mean, my channel isn't huge, but I will have to sort through, 400 plus sometimes. I think my record in a day, I had like 600 emails, and that's when I'm like, okay, no more emails. But yeah, so I try to read every comment because I do get ideas. And I just have a catalog, a book where anytime I hear an idea, I just write the idea down. And then one of those ideas will fit the narrative, or I have time to do that. I will then just pull one of those out and start working on it. So yeah. So I like to read the comments because I do get ideas, and I find the people who comment in my channel are hysterical people. I laugh every morning, and I love because I wake up and I go through my comments usually in the morning, and I laugh, and I'll wake up my family laughing, and they're like, "You're reading comments again?" I'm like, "Yeah, listen to this one." And I usually read comments over my lunch hour, and I read comments at some time at the end of the day, and I laugh. My subscribers they kill me. They're hysterical people, and they play along. So I
Yep.
mean, it's just too dang, and we're getting more characters. The whole interjection of they, which is super fun. Who's another YouTuber, great
Yep.
guy.
Yep.
And so we're doing collabs, and I'm just yeah. So I have I actually have a creative team that's behind the scenes, and that's kind of a new component. And so I throw out ideas to them, and they will go, okay, what about this? What about that? And they add bits and they add pieces. And so a lot of my stuff now is I'm not creating it alone. I still have to retain the core because I'm the one who has to shoot it and pull it off. But I get a lot of really good little nitty bitties from my subscribers and that crew.
I think it's awesome. We're at a point now where the flat Earth it's beyond ridiculous. And I think it's probably time that everybody stops taking them seriously. And I absolutely love what you're doing. And mockery absolutely has its place. And if mockery ever had a place, this is the place.
Yes.
I just had no idea what to do anymore. This is the only thing I had left because logic I don't think works. But I'm glad that there are those out there who can do logic. I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That actually leads into my next question.
Yeah.
What are your views on the shape of the planet, really?
Oh yeah. Die hard. I'm a full glober. I've done my own, when it first came out, I honestly was like, okay, what about this? What about that? I have access to a theodolite, so I went out and an hour with a theodolite, and I'm like, okay, it's not flat.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not a surveyor by any sense of the word, but I know how to level it, and I looked out over a large lake in the area, and there was drops, so I'm like, okay, and then I mean, yeah, I just kept on. It didn't take me too long to go, okay, this is crazy, and this is why I believe the Earth is a sphere. And I would talk about those things, but it just doesn't. I don't think it matters. I think it matters, but it needs to be done because there are some who are on the fence.
Yes.
And they can, and all the people. There's a lot of good people who are putting out really good content. That's really important to do. I just couldn't do it anymore. I mean, it was starting to affect my personal life. I was getting angry. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the official word. You think we're on a globe, and in fact, so do I. And I know Aaron thinks the same. My experience was a little different. I came, when I first saw the flat Earth stuff, I actually said, well, maybe let's I even started thinking in terms of a flat plane in my environment.
Right.
But as I started watching these things, I realized just how disingenuous some of these arguments are. I'm going, okay, here's this guy pouring water on a ball and saying, see, water doesn't stick to a ball. And I'm going, wait a minute. You got a planet-sized gravity well right next to it, pulling the water off. Can you expect it to stick?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's where, I mean, I just.
So what's the most ridiculous argument in your opinion?
There's so many.
There are a lot.
Almost all of them. when they were talking about, I mean, one of the first things that I ran across that made me go, oh, well, maybe is talking about, oh, if you're at the equator, you're going 1,000 miles an hour. Why don't you fly off? Why doesn't water fly off? What, is going on there? And, so I did the calculations, compared the centripetal acceleration to gravity. It's like 0.03 meters per second squared, way less than gravity. And then I said, well, how come we don't feel the acceleration? So I did a bunch of study on like the inner ear and yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But you used the word acceleration. There is no acceleration. We're all traveling.
Yeah.
That's what acceleration is what you feel. Like when you're on an airplane, you feel the takeoff from 0 to when you get up to speed. You might feel some acceleration once you're up to speed.
Actually, that's not true. With us spinning, there is a very incredibly small amount of acceleration.
But it's extremely small.
It's very small, but I mean, I did ask, well, why don't we feel it? And I did a study on how the body detects acceleration, and has to do with parts in the inner ear, and they flex. Well, if you're under a constant state of acceleration for your whole life, that filament in there stays flexed, and your body begins to learn that is 0. There is acceleration that's actually there, slightly flexing that filament, but your body begins to learn that that's 0 because it's always bent, and all it does is detect differentiations of the flexion,
changes,
those changes in those filaments. Yeah. And then there's studies on how much acceleration does your body have to experience before it even detects it. And actually, it's significantly, you have to have higher degrees of acceleration than is happening with the centripetal acceleration of the rotation of the Earth. Your inner ear is not sensitive enough to even detect that acceleration by tests. So, yeah, so it's kind of that's a crazy argument. Water sticking to a ball is ridiculous.
Yes.
I mean, I haven't heard one that isn't. I mean, I think if you don't know how to research, or you don't, and you just take stuff in, and I think that's part of the mentality, is you agree to some type of conspiracy, and your brain just learns to start taking stuff in and doesn't realize how to evaluate it anymore.
Right.
And before you know it, you've drank the Kool-Aid. I have 3 personal acquaintances in my life that are fully convinced the Earth is flat, 100%.
Okay, well, in that case, what are your smoking guns that it's not? What's the smoking gun that it's not flat? What can you say to somebody that doesn't involve them learning trigonometry or learning how to use a theodolite, or trusting, the Nazis at NASA? What can you say to someone? What would you say to just somebody on the street that would be a dead giveaway smoking gun?
Well, I think that's a hard question, because I think you do have to have some understanding of why we think the way that we do about it to fully understand it. I mean, I could take them to a theodolite and look out and go, hey, it does drop, but you would have to have a theodolite to measure or see the drop. You can use a phone app, but I mean, you can see it through a theodolite eyepiece. So I think when it's, I think a lot of flat earthers will so misunderstand the heliocentric model, for example, that they think that the phases of the moon are because of the shadow of the Earth. And so,
yes, so I've heard that.
I mean, it's common. It's a really common misunderstanding. So in order to overcome those misunderstandings, they have to have a correct understanding. But it seems like they're so far down the rabbit hole that you can't. And so what's the smoking gun is, I think the reality is our mathematical models, our spherical maps actually work. I mean, we can take our mathematical physics formulas and see that they do work, which no flat earther ever does. They don't make any formula. They don't.
True.
They have no need to ever figure out if what they think actually works. I mean, for
Yep.
them, it's a belief. Where science is trying to contribute something to humanity, they want to develop some type of predictive formula, for example, to know how fast things fall and how much lift does an airplane have to generate, and what is all the things that have to do with actual density and making a ship float. I mean, the real formulas of density and buoyancy have gravity within them, and we had to do that to make it work. So if they're going to say there's no gravity, then I need a real formula that I can actually use in my real life, because I do that in my living. I actually use formulas and stuff
Right.
that work. And they don't provide any of that. They don't want to predict. I mean, we want to know when the sun rises and sun sets. Military wants to precisely know when the sun rises and the sun is going to set. I mean, that's just a practical thing. We can predict eclipses down to literally the second. And we do that with our understanding of that. They don't do any of that. So I guess, they want to disprove the model, but every time they do it, they just show that they don't understand it. And in my interaction with like real face-to-face people, it doesn't matter. You can't debate it. And so, I mean, I believe that people believe the flat earth because they have to. There is something internally within them. They've made so many mental agreements, or they're trying to cope with certain things in their life, that they actually have to do it to somehow feel okay. And so that means the solution to it isn't necessarily logical. There's things about life skills that they have to cope with certain things of their life, so that they can make sense and function outside of that conspiracy.
That leads me to my next question. But before, I actually have another question ahead of that.
Yeah.
But what you said about people and their life experiences, to me, screams religion, which ultimately is where flat Earth is going to lead people time and time again. I was just curious: are you a religious person? Are you a man of faith?
I am. I mean, I 13 years. I was a pastor. So I do have. There are strong faith things in my life. I'm not gonna lie about that. There are things that have changed, and the more that I've worked within the faith, so to speak, I mean, that there are a lot of issues to wrestle with within faith. And so I'm kind of at a point where I am wrestling with a lot of stuff, and there's some stuff when it comes to faith, there's just stuff I just don't even, I don't know. So when people ask me about certain things in my faith, I'm like, I don't know. I have had a lot of experiences in my life that I can't explain logically, and I don't know what to do with that. So, yeah.
Well, I got a smoking gun or two in case you're maybe curious. The one or two that I typically use, and I'm sorry, my microphone, I'm just going to have to keep adjusting it as I go. Number one smoking gun is a lunar eclipse. Obviously, something gets between the sun and the moon to cause the moon to go dark during a lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
The other one, I typically which is like my go-to smoking gun, which is the southern pole rotation, the stars.
Sure.
The motion of the stars at the southern pole, and it doesn't take math. You don't need to know, geometry. You don't need to know how to do high-end math or have expensive equipment for observations. Anybody can see that with their own eyeballs.
Yep.
And I love it when flat earthers talk about the firmament, because I'm really curious how meteorites get through.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think the firmament is illogical even in their own mindset, because they say they only believe what they can sense and feel and touch.
Which is the worst way to do science.
Which is horrible, because we know that it doesn't work, but they will believe in a firmament which they have never physically touched or seen, but yet it's there. So, I mean, when people bring that argument up to me, when I actually can sit face to face with someone, I'm like, how? I mean, it's just a contradiction within their own zetetic understanding. And I know personally that my own senses can be fooled. No doubt about it.
Oh, yeah. Just go watch David Copperfield.
Yeah, really.
Every time. Yeah. Or I mean, there's all kinds of things that fool our eyes. Whatever
Oh
those
yeah.
things on paper that look like they're doing something, but they're not. I can't remember what they're
Oh
called.
right, I don't know what they're called either, but I know what you're. It's
Visual
sort of an optical illusion,
There
sort
we
of a
go.
thing.
It fools the brain
That's
until you get the right perspective, and then you can see, oh, the lines are parallel or whatever, for example. So it's
right.
just kind of one of those things where you're like, your senses don't always read it, and you do need to investigate it to see it right. So you can see lines on a piece of paper that look like they're not parallel, but they are. Which
Right.
I think that's one of the challenging things about science is what we initially assume isn't always how it is. And we have been wrong, and we continue to learn and grow and refine our ideas and our methods, and it's getting so vastly, you get into the whole quantum realm, and I mean my brain goes, which is not that hard to do, so yeah, so it's increasingly requiring an understanding to make sense of it. And
Yep.
if you don't want to do that, then you can just say it looks flat to me. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Well, I'm a contractor, and every time I go to build a house, the first thing I do is I flatten the ground.
me too. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yep,
That's
yeah.
just one of the.
Do you use
Yeah.
do you use the anal hose attachment device to do that?
You know, I was wondering about your anal hose. Is that because of the flatulence?
So, well, are you not familiar with the anal hose?
Well, I've only been sub to you for a short time.
Okay.
I mean, I saw one of your videos with it, and I just no, I guess I don't really get the whole concept. You could fill us in.
Well, the anal hose came about because I wanted to do within my channel, there is always a jab or there's a piece of truth that I hope somehow hits a flat earther. And I think that's highly unrealistic. But for instance, flat earthers will go and make an observation over water one time, and then they will create a whole theory and a whole video about it. So I thought, if I'm going to do an observation, I'm going to do it for 14 days straight, and I'm never going to stop. I am going to make that observation through my telescope 14 days straight. I'm going to eat with my eye in it, which then for my character created a problem that I couldn't ever go to the bathroom. And so that's when I created the PS 900, which is the Poop Sucker 900, which was a device that hooked up to my shant hole with a hose and sucked poop for 14 days. And so then I released the results of my 14-day observation, which was a ginormous pile of feces. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
I noticed
Yeah,
how go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there are other attachmentations to the shant hole. And one of them is a level that is duct taped to the end of the anal hose that I drag back and forth over things to make sure that they're level.
Awesome.
I'm attachmentation. See, I noticed, that you like to play with words like that. So
yes,
that's really another interesting and curious and kind of brilliant just way to add to the mockery.
Well, the funny thing is if you actually knew me in my real life, it's not that different.
It's something you do anyway.
So if I don't know a word for something, I will make one.
There you go.
Yeah.
That works.
So people who are used to it, who actually deal with me on a daily basis, or a friend of mine. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just curious. Do you construct all your experimentalizations yourself?
I do. Yeah, everything that I built. Like when I equatorial mounted myself, I built that. And
awesome.
Yeah, so everything that I do with my channel, I mean, I build it, make it, work it out. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Ironically, there aren't too many of my friends who are gung-ho to deal with me in public when I'm
In character.
Yeah.
Gee. I wonder why.
But actually, in my recent episode, in which I am very public, I was nervous at first, but then everybody I interacted with was hysterical. I mean, at one point, there were these like 4-year-old kids who just stared. I crossed the street, a public like intersection. You'll just have to wait and see it. But anyway, there were these kids on the other side who just were like staring at me like I was from
an
another
alien
planet. Yes, exactly. And then their mom is coming out and she's like taking videos and and people were honking, and it was kind of it actually was like, oh, actually people are entertained even outside of my channel, and it's actually given me some, I don't know, encouragement, if you would, to become a little bit more public, because people actually enjoy seeing
I think it would help your channel. In fact, the reactions that strangers are, to go out and like, the last video, you pretended to drive to the park and then you had to go home and get mom to let you out of the car. Hilarious stuff. But, but yeah, absolutely. Going out and actually interacting with total strangers and then having their reactions on camera would absolutely benefit what you're doing.
And that's my total plan, is to go have more increasing public interaction.
And then what you could do is get some cards made up that say flat out and have your on YouTube, and then you can hand them out to people and then get more viewers, right?
At one point, I do want to have a shirt on the back that says, I wish Stiggy wishes he was me.
I'm not really sure who Stiggy is, but I like it. Sounds good.
Yeah. Or Mark Sargent wishes he was me. I don't know. I do. There is I really have strongly debated about going to the Flat Earth Convention in Denver, Colorado, and actually do it in character.
Oh my God.
Oh, that would be so. If you go, you better fit it. I tell you,
friends, you're gonna get attacked.
Well, and that's. I haven't found a friend who's willing to take the time off to go down there. I'm down in that area quite often for work, but I just don't want to go alone. And my wife is like,
no.
I'd go with you if I could get there, but rather problematic.
Any subscribers want to go to Denver in November, let me know, and you can get shanted and shilted, and we'll go to the FE convention and hopefully not get beat up.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah, there you go.
You're gonna want a few friends, because I can really imagine pissing some people off down there.
Yeah, there is an increasing. Well, I wanted to have a whole booth where I would sell shants and have a huge banner that said, "Never forget your name again," which I think would be so hysterical, and the reactions. But I that is so out there, and the people would be so. I actually have concerns about my well-being, but
I do too. I mean, those people really take it seriously. It's a cult, like it is a very religious based.
Yeah.
Again, the Flat Earth thing. It ultimately goes back to religion, because obviously at the end of a conversation, a deep, long conversation with a flat earther, you're going to wind up talking about the firmament and how did it get there, and none of that shit makes sense in a physical sense, and so obviously it's got to be God did it, and so religion is at the bottom of this flat earth rabbit hole.
It really is, and the people who have bought it I mean, if you actually meet one, it's all they talk about. I mean, it is the core of who they are. And so
Yes.
to undo that, like one of my best friend's brother is diehard. And I mean, that's anytime there's a family gathering for Christmas, whatever, it's just like but he's convinced his dad now that the earth is flat. So that at holidays for these people, any gathering, sitting down for coffee, it's flatter. So to try and undo that means they have to completely undo their whole life. I mean, just
yes,
it would cause them to go to like just to demolish their whole life down to ground zero and rebuild it, because they built their whole life on it.
Yeah, I agree. An awful lot of them are that way.
Yeah.
Great number.
Well, it's really, to me, it's a sign of the horrible, poor state of our education system.
Yeah, I would say, the crazy thing though, one of the guys that I actually know is a really intelligent guy. He's actually a radio communications guy. He actually sets up antennas on the top of towers. For like radio communications, like cell stuff and repeaters. Diehard flat earther and intelligent guy. He can work all the formulas that have to do with radio stuff, which blows my mind. I mean, he's an intelligent guy on, like, I'm shocked, I can have discussions with him. And I'm like, okay, you actually understand this, that, and the other thing. Yet he is a flat earther. And so some people will say they're just idiots, but actually I know some really intelligent people who believe that the earth is flat. And so that's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, when you first decided to, go ahead and look into it, like the rest of us, we probably ignored it when you first saw it floating around the interwebs. And then you finally gave in and said, all right, let's have a look. What in your mind was like the most compelling argument? For the flat earth? What in your mind, what's the most compelling argument for flat earth?
Well, I would say the one that made me go, well, maybe wait a second here, was if you're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. I'd never done the math. I'd never done the calculations. If you're spinning at 1,000 miles, how come you aren't flat? And I actually had friends in a circle that I win that actually came to me and goes, what do you think about that? We would fly off, and I'm like, okay, let's just do the math, And so that was probably the first one that made me go, I really haven't heard, I haven't been tripped up by anyone other than that. And why that one hooked me, I don't know. I mean, it's still a common one that's used today by flat earthers. And then there's the whole NASA moon. I haven't even gone down that rabbit hole. I don't even know what their arguments are for NASA or against NASA, because I was shutting down by that point. And I think rockets are cool.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, I know enough about rockets, and I for a while, I was into aeronautics for quite a while. I designed aeronautically. I know how to run calculations on why things fly and how things fly and how to generate lift. I know how to do run all kinds of software that does aerodynamic analysis and lifting line theory and all that, because I actually built flying things at one point in my life with composites. So when it came to rockets and how rockets fly, it was easy for me to go, oh,
cool. That actually, I had a couple of suggestions written down. Maybe just an idea for a video. It's just a suggestion. Build yourself, because there's this guy, right, who built his own rocket, and he's supposed to send himself up to get high enough, right? And
yes.
I was thinking you could do like a whole skit, build a big cardboard rocket, and then something goes horribly wrong, and then you wind up in the hospital, and just make a big skit out of it.
Yeah, no, that's already in the works.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big anus cannon.
Or like a bungee cord.
I'm not gonna blow it because it won't be as funny for you if all know it's coming. But there is.
Yes.
I am going to attempt to launch. I'll just say I am going to try. I have multiple experiments to break the electrostatic flux. And one of them is launching myself with what I call the anus cannon, and it is a big butt plunger that slides. It's attached to my shan't, and it slides down a cannon, and it is going to attempt to launch me. I'm just going to leave it at that because I think it's going to be fantastic. And my creative group has been building and working that, and I tried it. It's going to be a funny scene. Let's just say, in my opinion, it's going to be.
That's actually a very good teaser.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But
yes,
I'm pretty excited.
Awesome.
I was just thinking of something really dangerous that goes horribly wrong, and
yes, yeah, it has all that.
Oh, goody!
It'll have like tease. It's a multi-episode kind of a cliffhanger type.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, multi-episode adventure. So it'll be.
No, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm excited about it. Let's just say that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Do you think that there are any ones who truly believe the planet is flat that take your satire seriously?
I've only had a couple that I thought that. And okay. I honestly because I pay attention to the comments really closely.
Uh-huh.
And I try to interact. And I mean, the crazy thing is I actually care about the people who come on my channel, even the flat earthers. I mean, there are some belligerent ones, and those I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I was going to ask how much of a hard time are they giving you?
There are some, but the ones that are the most frustrating are the globies who don't understand that I'm satire and just come on and just berate the crap out of me. And those ones actually kind of get under my skin because I'm like, hey, this is we're kind of knocking the wind out of the flat Earth movement just a wee bit. I mean, not a lot, but just a wee bit. And
I think all your failures would be.
And I'm like, and I'll like give hints, and my like some of my core subscribers will see them and just bombard them with the funniest things in the world, and some never get it. I mean, they go in and out thinking that I was the biggest buffoon to ever walk the face of the earth. But there have been a few people who were legitimate flat earthers that they never caught on, and then they did, and they actually realized they were being made fun of, and that actually concerned me a little bit. I think there are some people out there who have. There are a lot of people who are incredibly good, nice people who believe the Earth is flat.
Yeah,
it's a reality, and so for those people, I don't know. I feel compelled to care about them as much as I care about anybody else because they're just trying to figure out and navigate through life. And I think there are some that don't actually have the mental capacity a little bit to even comprehend it and are just operating out of what they've been told. And so there were two people who were on that. It kind of messed with my heart for a little bit because they actually did realize it and then were like, oh. And I, behind the scenes, was trying to, and there were a couple of my subscribers, female subscribers, who picked up on it and were trying to engage with these people and just couldn't do it. I mean, it's the internet. There are days I actually have a conscience about what I do. Like sometimes there has been moments where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing because there are some people who are getting their feelings hurt. And then there's times when I'm like, I just
don't allow me to give you a word of encouragement. Yeah, just let that mind, let that thought float away with the breeze, and because
Oh,
quite honestly, mockery absolutely does have its place. And like I said earlier, if anywhere mockery belongs, it's in this flat Earth community.
I mean, it's kind of like the only thing I knew what to do anymore because debating, you can talk. Like Wolfie 6020 though has actually had a handful of people that he's persuaded out of the flat Earth, which is awesome.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
awesome.
So there are some people who are, and he's such a kind-hearted guy most of the time.
He, yeah, he's a sweetheart. I really love his
Yeah,
work.
it really good. And so he actually will engage and actually be helpful for people, but there are there's some are just so belligerent that I'm like, okay, you deserve this.
Yep.
there
Yep.
are a surprising number of faithful subscribers who are genuine flat earthers. Some of them subscribe to give me the downvote within the first 3 minutes of the video coming out.
Right.
But then I have subscribers who actually comment and will like push me over the edge. Like if I'm hovering around a subscriber level, they'll be
Mm-hmm.
right there to push me over, which is the weirdest thing. I'm just like, cool, I'm glad you're here. I mean, there are many flat earthers who have told me that they believe the earth is flat, but they watch because I'm funny. So
Awesome.
I
Awesome.
don't know.
Now, you started a university, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yes, we have
And
Flat Earth Community University, feck you.
and I'm curious,
Feck you?
yeah, feck you.
Feck you. Flat Earth Community University, yeah, feck you. We've got a whole channel that's dedicated to feck you, just launched last weekend. And so there's a little promo vid. If you just do feck you, you'll Google search feck you, you'll find it. It's linked in some of my videos. But yeah, we've got a very professional looking like little promo. Makes me laugh. We'll be receiving actual students. I mean, like people can actually become a fecker.
And if they're female and have children, they are a motherfucker.
Well, actually, I want to have homeschool mothers in the classrooms, so to guide the students, and those are motherfuckers. Yeah,
Those are your motherfuckers.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome.
and, yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So when are classes gonna start?
Well, it is under works. I mean, we're on that channel. I am not the author of that channel. That channel is actually authored by a subscriber.
Oh, awesome.
And has just teamed up with me. He's been here from the start of my, since I was 50 subscribers, and has commented religiously in the most funny fashion. So he's started that whole thing. He made the promo video. He's working on classroom settings. There'll be like instructional things flying out of that, which I think is hysterical. And it's even more fun that I don't have to, I mean, it's just happening. There are a lot of things that are happening in the flat out community. And I really do. I call it a community because for me, it is a community. Who people are just starting to do stuff. They'll contact me and go, hey, I got a magazine. There's like a bunch of people. There's not a bunch, but there's several people who are doing magazine covers with me, or instruments that are absolutely incredibly hilarious. They always get posted on my Twitter feed.
Cool.
So, yeah. At flat out FE, if you like to tweet and twat and whatever that is. So.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's pretty. I mean, I'm having so much fun because there are people who just are just doing stuff that are just so in line with the channel and want to do it and offer to do it and are having fun doing it. And I'm like, heck yeah. So the whole feck you thing is kind of.
As soon as you mentioned it, the chat went crazy, man. I mean, it was
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Totally. I don't know if you're watching the chat, but I mean, everybody's familiar.
Yeah. 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 And they is now like a new part of the character. And then some of my subscribers are taking on characters that are in my skits. So like Officer Pulowski, Flat Out's mom. Those are actual subscribers who asked if they can I be Flat Out's mom in the comment section? And I'm like, heck yeah. So they go and comment as my mother in the comment section. And have their own channels, and they're actually developing channels around Flat Out's mom, and Officer Pulowski and the neighbor lady, and
That's awesome. I mean, what an inspiration you've become.
Well,
I mean, seriously. I mean, your channel is taking
heck.
off. I mean, you've gained like. Let me see. I subscribed to you. I think a couple 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, maybe.
Yeah.
You've doubled your subscribers in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, in a month, I've doubled in the last month, 3 weeks or something.
Yeah, so I mean, you're catching on. I mean, your shit is funny. Yeah. It's inspiring, and
Thank you.
We all dig the mockery, and like, I mean, I can't stress enough how much mockery is needed in this arena.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can't argue these people. You can't fix stupid. You can't argue people who are so deeply entrenched. And like you said, people build their whole worldview on this idea, and it's like crumbling their entire worldview. What did you say? Down to ground zero. And it's like trying to talk somebody out of their lifelong religion sometimes. And it's so there's nothing left to do but just mock and have fun.
Yeah. I do have internal conflict about it sometimes. Because it's kind of it. I'm just being honest. It's kind of a mixed bag for me sometimes. I do it because it's funny, and ultimately I want people to just see Flat Out and like, because people like to watch people be idiots. It somehow is helpful. And I think my channel has been helpful for people who've been so caught up in the debate, and that somehow it's like it allows them to just go from the debate. I have a subscriber whose husband is a total flat earther, and she faithfully participates on my channel. And for her, it's like she's like, I don't understand it. It's somehow helpful for me, which inspires me to just keep on doing what I'm doing.
There's somebody in the chat, Heat Shield, said Flat Out's mom makes the best deep fried steak, and that gave me a thought that maybe in your videos you could start your videos, or at least, I don't know, start a video or two, like in the morning when you wake up and your mom makes you, I don't know, flatbread, pancakes, pizza, all kinds of type food.
There is a video coming. It's called A Day in the Life of Flat Out. And it does start from the moment Flat Out wakes up, and it has his whole morning routine, and it shows him riding a bike downtown to go grocery shopping. I mean, that's all.
Well, I hope you have pancakes for breakfast and flatbread for lunch.
And pizza for dinner.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Yeah. But anytime I go off site, I mean, like this last time I went off site, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this takes like 10 times more work to do it. And each of my videos gets more involved. I mean, if you watch from where I started to where I am now, my last video, I think, was like 63 separate takes.
Oh, wow.
So that's 63 settings, adjusting the camera. If I have help, it goes much, if my wife can help, or one of my kids can help, it goes, much faster. But sometimes, like, they don't want to go public. My 3 daughters are like, heck no. So like when I cross the street, I had to drive to the intersection, set up the camera, go to where it is, get all my, kind of geared up and ready, and get my shoes on, and cross the street for the shot, and then de-gear, cross the street back, unget the camera, then move the camera to the next location, get the shot. So I mean, it's until I have like a cohort in my actual arena. And one of the other problems is I shoot when I have time. I don't so it's not like I can at any time, hey, I'm shooting a video. I need you over here. Well, dude, I can't. I'm eating dinner with my family, and then and in order to do it, I just have to shoot it. I have to make it work somehow by myself, or until I'm making millions off YouTube, it can hire a whole staff.
Hey, hire me, please. I don't know how much I can do, but I can certainly be a personality.
Yeah.
My poor little ratty little hands, they're pretty sad, but
oh gosh. Oh,
awesome.
Gosh. Yeah.
Let's do it. So I'm going to bring this up because it's something that, in watching your vids and all, I noticed that you brought this up a lot. So I thought I'd ask the question.
Okay.
Are you a nudist?
One would think that I was sexually biparted and enjoyed being naked in public. Especially if you're a Twitter subscriber, when I hit 333 and Twitter followers, I did run naked down the middle of the street for Twitter only, but I didn't really, of course, but no, I'm not a nudist. Never. I've skinny dipped a few times in the mountains, but I'm not a nudist.
I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, well,
I think my CPU is going at 100 again, so I may break up a bit.
Okay.
I showed my wife your last video, and of course, she had no idea who you were. I was like, yeah, we're going to be talking to this guy tonight. He's hilarious. And I showed her your last video, and she was like, why is he wearing that thing on his head? And I had to go through the whole explanation that, you were contacted by a nudist colony and they wanted something that they could wear, but they don't wear clothes. They wanted something that had, and it was so just brilliant, man. Funny stuff.
Well, thank you. One of the hard parts of my channel is, you do have to understand kind of the history of what's happened to make sense of some of the videos.
Right.
And I do have a goal to always make my videos shorter than 4 minutes. I don't know if that's the right thing or the wrong thing, or it's just what I've done. I mean, a lot of them I try to get the punch within the shortest amount of time possible. So,
right.
Which means you do have to have some history with me to even find it funny. And I'm personally kind of trying to figure out how to deal with that. And then part of me is like, why do I care? I'm doing it for fun. And those who subscribe find it funny and they'll figure it out. And,
yeah, they'll go back and watch some of your older vids and get a feel for what's going on.
Right. Yeah. But I go back and watch my old vids and I'm like, oh my gosh. There's part of me that actually wants to go remake some of my own videos because I could do them in such a better way now, but I'm not going to.
Nah. let them ride as the classics they are.
Right. Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Okay, so I don't know if you mentioned this, and maybe I missed it if you did. How old is your channel? How long have you been around? When did you start?
Well, I haven't really. My channel is from 2012, only because I started so I could comment on stuff. But I think I started my first flat out video, I want to say 5 months ago, something like that. Looking it up now.
I'd look it up, but Well, we know what my problem is. I can't do anything when I'm doing a hangout.
Yeah, so it looks like, according to YouTube, my first flat out was 5 months ago, somewhere around there. And I had done some debunking videos like up to a year ago, but when I started being flat out, which I had like 30 subscribers at the time, was about 5 months ago.
Not bad. I've been on the tubes since about 2012 and really started dealing with videos for a couple of years, and I barely just broke 1,000 not too long ago on subs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've had a lot of people be really good to me. Wolfie6020 gave me my first, like shout out.
Yep.
And that I gained like 100 subscribers, and I was like, "Ooh, I hit 100." I remember when I hit 111 because of Wolfie6020. And then it was just kind of till like 555. It seemed to take, when I hit 444, I mean, that period from there to 444 was like, I was doing content like almost daily. And they were super easy to do at that time. And I just kick them out there. And then I picked up speed like that. And then I had Conspiracy Cats gave me a good shout out. Sean Hufford. I've had some subscribers. They and John Michelson and Exist Dissolve. And I mean, I can't even, there are so many who just started like doing funny things about me.
Awesome.
And then it just kind of took off at that point. And now I was doing like 444 and 555 subscriber things I unfortunately can't keep up. I don't have the time to do the big like subscriber celebration. I will do for 1111, which I don't even know how that's all going to work. But when I hit 1111, I'm going to do something big, and I haven't already. I haven't.
That's how many 11Ds is that?
I have not even figured out the terminology. Because none of it makes sense if you know anything about math. So I haven't even generated the terminology to describe the subscribership past 1,000. Yeah, past nine toodles. What is it? 9 toodle 11Ds. Yeah. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love
I'm sure
it.
someone in the comments will actually tell me, but who's better at math?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions, Aaron? I've run out of questions. I had my list. Yeah, it was a short list.
Well, I had another suggestion that you might get a crack at, because flat earthers are always talking about water. Water doesn't curve. I was thinking you could do something with a toilet.
And water curving.
I know that you're not beyond potty humor, so
I am.
You could play with maybe put a little tiny boat in the toilet and flush it, or I don't know, just whatever your brain comes up with. I was just thinking of something with a toilet, because the toilets are full of water, and the flat earthers are always talking about their water that doesn't curve.
Yeah, I'll work that. I'll see what we can concoct. I am doing a thing with water always finds a level, because one of my subscribers made a comment that I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot not take advantage of that idea. But I don't want to share it, because sometimes it's better not knowing what's coming in my videos.
True.
I saw an interview, and by the way, I'm sure you're probably aware, Flat Earth has pretty much gone full on mainstream.
Yeah, it's in the news.
It's not only in the news, and not only are they doing conferences, but they've been featured on a few mainstream television shows. In fact, if you didn't know, just 2 weeks ago, the breakfast show, Good Morning America, 2 weeks ago, did a whole segment on Flat Earth where they had Patricia Steer on and a bunch of other people from quote unquote movement.
Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of movement, like bowel movement, you might work that into your toilet experimentalization.
Yeah, it's in flat out histology.
Okay.
The world record 14-day bowel movement already exists. So
Cool. Flat out histology. Got it.
histology. It's back there. You got to go way back for the evidence, but it exists. Yeah. Yeah.
I may start going way back because I think I missed a few from the sounds of it.
Yeah, when I first subscribed to your channel and I first picked up on the satire, I probably spent a good hour or so just binging on a bunch of your videos. I've had a good old time.
Sorry about that. I say it's damaging. You got to do it in small doses, but yeah.
I mean, you've almost inspired me to start a whole new channel and call it Flatulence.
There is flatulators out there. Who does? Yeah, I'm a subscriber. Yeah. So.
So what else do you have in the works that you don't want to tell us because of spoiler alerts?
Oh gosh, let's see. I mean, I've got part 2 to the leveling, to detecting the curvature. That's coming up. I've got several breaking the electrostatic flux, the anal cannon that's coming up. I've got a commercial style video that I'm working on for. It would be like a commercial for Shants. It would be very commercial style, and I want to do a "Feck You" commercial that just talks about the university and why you'd want to go to Feck You rather than a regular a usual university. Yeah, I've got some instrumentations. Duct tape has been a serious issue in my career as flat out, and I'm always trying to eliminate duct tape, except duct tape is so funny to hold up my shants and shilts that it's a hard thing to want to shed. But I have come up with an incredibly, I think, a funny way to hold up a shant that I'm working on. Shant spenders. Yeah.
I love it. Looking forward.
I've got winter gear, name remembrance, winter gear to come out. Yeah, so there's a lot. I am going to be unveiling the Venitiometer. I mean, the full functioning Venitiometer. I mean, the narrative has been, I've intentionally withheld the Venitiometer because Flat Earth, FE Core, has been developing technology and they keep on screwing it up, and I'm the only one who can actually get it right because FE Core can't even get my Venitiometer working correctly. So eventually I will release the Venitiometer and it's functioning. So that's coming down the pipeline.
That I wondered about that Venitiometer.
Yeah. I've just been kind of playing it for a while and letting it just kind of sit in the background, and it will then make a reappearance. I've been waiting for FE Core to actually get really busted. And there is some things that they've done illegally that, I mean, they're under a little bit of investigation. So I've just kind of been waiting for that to work out and before I release the Venitiometer. So yeah.
Well, I don't know what that's about.
FE Core? Well, they've claimed to be a nonprofit, but they're not a nonprofit. So
I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, if you do, just Google them, but don't. Yeah, they've been doing a lot of promotion on big laser tests and just absolutely sucking it up, but claiming victory, which is pretty much how every flat Earth experimentation goes. So
very cool.
Anyway,
you got to do something on gravity. A minute ago, when I was mentioning how flat Earth has gone mainstream, there was a television show in, I think, Australia. They talk about a lot of paranormal stuff and fringy stuff, and they featured some flat earther and sat him down, and they did this interview. And I've heard this argument before, and it's probably the most retarded thing I've ever heard, where they talk about people on the bottom of the earth falling off because of gravity.
Yes. That's pretty retarded.
Why don't they fall off the bottom of the ball? Because of gravity would pull them straight down. It just boggles the mind, the level of intelligence some of these people are working with.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of me that just can't believe it. I just can't believe that people actually think that way and believe that way. I mean, everything within me wants to go, it's fake, it's not real. They're just literally using the system. And I mean, honestly, I think Jaron, I don't think he believes the earth is flat. Jaronism. I think he's working.
I think you're right.
Because actually the guy's kind of smart. And so, but I think he's smart enough to just work it for the pittance of that. I mean, he's probably making $1,500 a month or something off YouTube. And I think he's just working it. That's my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but
well, I agree. I see some really smart people like Jaronism. There's another channel, Jesse Spots, and some David Weiss. These people are too smart. Oh, I couldn't fucking believe it. Pardon my language. But Santos Bonacci, and most recently, Michael Tellinger.
Yep.
Went flat earth. And my brain melted out of my ears. I could not freaking believe that these people with this level of intelligence. I mean, Michael Tellinger is a world-class researcher. I just don't understand how people that are seemingly intelligent can really fall for such nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, either they are having some serious issues, or they're paid to, which I give some probability to. I don't think the whole flat earth thing was organic. I mean, all of a sudden there were like 50 videos about flat earth on my recommended list, and I'm like, why is this all of a sudden all over the place?
Right. Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I don't. It's a weird thing, that's for sure.
Yes.
Fortunately, I mean, there are some who are attempting to like change education. I mean, they're actually going to school boards to try and get educational curriculum done. And fortunately, that's all, obviously getting rejected. But it is kind of, I mean, there's a lot of street evangelism, if you want to call it, of flat earthers going out there preaching and sidewalking about flat earth, and got their brochures and all kinds of stuff out there. And
religion.
And it puts a whole doubt on science. I mean, I think even in a lot of circles, people just are doubting scientists. And there's a whole doubt that science is actually just trying to corrupt society in some way. And that's probably the most disconcerting part, because in that sense, it really does hold society back, because pretty much every advancement that society's ever had has been related to science in one way or another.
True. Very true.
So in that sense, I think that's the biggest danger of flat earth.
Well, I do think it's a good thing that science is being questioned.
Sure.
Nothing in this world should be beyond reproach.
Sure. Yep.
And throughout science has been wrong more times than it's been right. But the good thing about science is that it's a self-correcting system.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of cosmology. However, even when I was a teenager, I questioned, and I had a real hard time with the logistics of the time scales that they were giving us. Sure. Earth being 4.5 billion, and while the universe is 3.8 billion, to me, the logistics didn't work out. And I won't go into all the reasons why. Sure. But recently, I've been doing a fair amount of looking into the electric universe thesis. There's a fantastic channel called the Thunderbolts Project, where they are rewriting all of cosmology and redefining certain aspects of physics among the entire universe, all the way down to how human beings work and how the planets and solar system and the whole galaxy and the whole universe operates with the number one force of electricity, which is, I think it's 38 billion times stronger than gravity. But cosmologists only want to use gravity in their models, and that's why things like we have this theory of the moon, right? The double whack, because they thought, oh, something hit the Earth and then it congealed and made the moon, but they put it in their models. It didn't work. So they had to come up with a double whack theory. The electric universe people like the physicist Wal Thornhill and some of the other scientists on this project are saying things like black holes actually don't exist. Dark matter doesn't actually exist. There's no such thing. These are shit that the mathematicians have to make up to make their mathematical theories work. And electricity explains all these things, and we can demonstrate it, yada yada. So I'm all on board with questioning science. Okay, so that is a good thing.
Yes.
And for me, I mean, at some point, science has to make a difference, which I think is my biggest gripe with the flat Earth, is they're not putting forth anything that actually makes a difference. You can say the Earth is flat, but tell me how we're going to navigate differently. You can say the Earth is flat or gravity doesn't exist, but give me some formulas to work with to calculate how much lift an airplane has to generate to overcome gravity. You know, and so if we're going to say this doesn't exist, which is fine, question it. But at some point, what you're questioning has to produce something that is actually helps us as a society do what we want to do and need to do. You know, which the flat Earth community they're not doing anything with that.
Yes.
So in my channel, I always want to be, that's why I always fail. I mean, everything I do almost always fails.
Yeah.
I think failure is okay. I think it's okay to question, but you better test it to see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then you have to know why. And it's okay to do something and fail miserably. I mean, I think that's really okay in life, to try something and fail miserably. I'm really
you learn something.
You learn more from failure.
Yes.
You learn from both. I mean, in my life, I actually have learned the most by analyzing what made me successful rather than what made me not successful. So analyze, because then once I knew why I was successful at doing something, I could then apply that system or that way of thinking into my life that actually produced more fruit or more enjoyment of my life or whatever. But so I've learned both. You have to analyze failure and you have to analyze success, but you have to be willing to totally always risk failure and never take yourself very seriously. Because once you do that, you actually discovery goes, it gets diminished.
You know, something we were talking about a minute ago, I forget exactly what, gave me a thought for you, perhaps another video, another experiment. And this ties into your second video, not the last one, but the one before, where you had your 12-foot planks on your shoes.
Yes. Yep. 12-foot planks.
Because the I'm sure you're aware, obviously, the flat earthers will say, well, an airplane has to keep nosing down because, they use a huge airplane and a tiny Earth, and the scale is so out of whack that it looks like it, and it's so bizarre. Okay, so on a flat Earth model, wouldn't a ship or an airplane have to do the same thing? They would have to keep banking to the right or to the left if they were going east or west. So maybe you get in your silly outfit and get in a little rowboat in the lake and paddle in a big circle.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, the possible idea. I think
put a broken compass on the front of your boat or something.
Yeah, I think that the hardest part of the creative process for me is it's easy to come up, or not easy. There's a lot of awesome things that I could do, but in the end, I actually have to do them.
In
so
fact,
it's like, I'm like, oh man, wouldn't it be awesome if I could show up at a party and have this
And
interaction?
then you got to work out all the logistics.
Yeah, I need 15 people who are going to want to show up in ties and suits, and I walk in with my anal tube. I mean, I want that video to happen, but I need 15 people who are going to buy into it. So I've actually gone to my local. I've made contact with some local like amateur. They just like to do acting and role playing and stuff, and so I talked with the director. So hopefully, I'm hoping to tie into some local amateur actors who want to help me do crazy stuff.
I hope you do that. I do.
I just figured out how you could make your boat experiment a success, and prove that the Earth was flat. That you were actually paddling in a circle. Put a compass on the front of your boat, and then a little tiny hidden magnet that keeps the needle in one direction.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
By the way, we were talking about there is no such thing as gravity, and it's just buoyancy is what they will say, right?
Yeah. Right.
Well, what I ask them is, what is it that defines the direction that things buoy in?
Yeah.
Yeah, buoyancy doesn't work without some sort of unseen force tugging on stuff.
Yes, like gravity, maybe.
No, I mean, honestly, if you're going to use buoyancy as a proof or as a theory and idea, in that scenario, why wouldn't water stick to a ball? Because the rock is more dense than the water. And so the water's always it's always going to be by the rock, but outside the rock. So,
right.
If you're going to say it's buoyancy, then in my mind, I'm like, well, then water could stick to a ball, even based on buoyancy. Why that is a proof? I mean, mathematically, it's ridiculous. You can't do anything with that idea because the math doesn't. There is no math for it. They haven't generated any math for it, so you can't calculate how big does the ship's hull need to be to float on the water. None of those people seemingly could ever do that or even care about that. But anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, some of the things they come up with just amaze me.
Yeah, it is amazing.
I think one of my favorite things, I forget who it was, but Wolfie mirrored it. He mirrored several vids where they took the sun angles at a specific time all over the planet and mapped them to the pancake. And it's like, let me see, there must be a separate sun for every location.
Yeah. Because that was my first video, is I actually created a flat earth model and I analyzed what the light paths would have to do to make it work. And it's asinine.
Yes.
And I made it, and flat earthers went, oh yeah. I mean, they actually were like buying into the possibility that light was getting refracted at 27 degrees, multiple different directions for no apparent reason.
Oh dear.
I pretty much have quit paying attention. That video got actually featured in 2 kind of soft science articles, and the views on it, kind of skyrocketed. And people were commenting and I just have, unfortunately, I've ignored it because I can't take it. But anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to turn over some questions to the chat? Anybody in the chat want to ask flat out a question? Post your question in all caps before we shut it down. I didn't mean to say shut it down, but Amy said she was out of questions 20 minutes ago. But we can go as long as wants to go, and we can go as long as Amy wants to go.
Yeah, well, I figured that I'd have you there to come up with questions too. So, because you're good at that. That's not really a main forte of mine.
Oh gosh. What's my dog's name? Dog. I actually, someone said, don't say your name because you could be, don't say the name of your dog because it could be traced through kennel records and you'll get doxxed. So I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. Part of me's like afraid to be doxxed, and part of me's like, I don't care. My employer knows that I do this and subscribes to my channel. So I'm not concerned about my employer, but I don't know. I don't even know if I should be concerned about being doxxed or not, but my dog's name is Dog. It was in the chat.
What's the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? See, you can't answer that question. You need to know if it's African or European.
That's right.
Gosh. Yeah, it all depends. Let's see. There are questions coming. Could you do a vid that demonstrates the stars actually move north to south? Yeah, maybe. I have no idea. Mandelbrot said, you didn't miss anything except for your marriage to Patricia Steer. That was something. Oh, so I love my wife. I have got the most amazing wife, and I'm just going to say it, and I'm glad she's not Patricia Steer.
Yeah, I'm glad she's not too.
Oh gosh. Anyway. Any other questions in the chat? I'm watching.
Yeah, don't dox your dog.
Yeah, don't. I don't want to dox my dog. I did post like a picture of my cat to one of my subscribers out of the comment section. She's like, "You realize that your name and phone number is all on that thing?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't." So,
oh dear.
Do your flat out do your water and compass experiment. I'm working on it. I got more experiments than I know what to do with. So, but I am open. I just write them down. It goes in the logbook. It goes to the creative group. We discuss it. We talk about it. Yeah.
Hey, maybe you could work in the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow into one of your videos.
Yes.
Because I'm sure you've heard you've heard the argument from flat earthers when they say an airplane takes off and flies east, and then another airplane takes off and flies west, and they land at the same time.
That argument just infuriates me. Let's see. Rapid X wants to know, what do your friends say about your vids? Some of my friends are subscribers. Some of my friends' kids are subscribers, but they're not subscribers. Some of my friends are just like, what the heck are you doing and why are you doing it? And it just so, most of my friends find it rather humorous. Flat out, you can't fly drones that fast in an atmosphere. True enough. Is that woman stoned or just I'm not even gonna Billy bag, I'm not ball bag, I'm not even gonna read that question. Let's see, flat out, would you debate a fellow flat earther in the future? Yes, but I have a requirement. It was released in my last video. I do not debate any other flat earther unless I get video evidence of them getting into a vehicle, a car, not like a truck, but a car with 12-foot long shoes on. If another flat earther will do that, I will debate them.
I think that's a good stipulation.
That's a good stipulation if you don't want to debate flat earthers. I mean, we've tried inviting flat earthers to come on and debate. They won't debate us. Without that stipulation, they won't come on.
They won't.
Yeah. I would. I debate is like. I mean, I watch debates on Non Sequitur. I like to watch them because they always turn into these crazy dumpster fires. And
yep. I'm sub to Non Sequitur. Those are good guys.
Yeah, and my favorite. I mean, I watch those, and Reg Rhetoric just recently demolished some guys, but even they get demolished, but then they will declare victory, and so that's the thing. It's like I don't.
Recently they had a debate scheduled, and whoever the flat earther was who was going to come on and debate, he not only did he not show, but he shut his channel down.
Yeah, yeah,
What
I
does
saw
this
that.
tell
Let's
us?
see. John Mickelson says, Andy Jones wondered if you ever get embarrassed in public doing it. No. My last video, which is coming out, I did have apprehensions, but once I saw the smiles on people's faces of me in public in my giddy up, it was just like, I like to make people laugh. It's part of my thing. I mean, I think laughter's wonderful. So I'm actually more inspired to, I'm less embarrassed by it. And I, like in my Twitter video, I actually ran down the street, appeared to be naked, but I mean, I shot that and there were people from the Catholic Church up the street driving by continually. And I was like, I got some dirty looks, but so there are times where I feel embarrassed, but at the same time, part of me's like, I wonder what that lady's thinking. She just gave me the stink eye for seeing a guy in what appears to be a diaper run down the middle of the street with a parade flute. I mean, that's a good thing. It looks like
that's awesome.
a channel called Troll R Us just uploaded a video about Flat Out. Okay, I'll check it out. Thank you for the header. Mandelbrot set, do you really fall asleep? Did you really fall asleep on your equatorial mount and get sunburned? No, that was my daughter's sunburned me. They did it with all makeup. We did a big trip to the store all together because they were all excited and they sunburned me. So it wasn't real, but was kind of funny. So yeah. Any other questions out there on the chat?
Somebody asked earlier if you would participate in Wolfie's Equinox Challenge.
I did. I did compete in Wolfie's Equinox. I got third place, actually, in the points for the Equinox Challenge for Wolfie's 60-20 Equinox Challenge. I submitted a video. 3, really.
Yeah, I saw that.
During your research, what is the largest diameter you have stretched your shant hole?
Oh,
Great questions.
yeah, that's a I don't know, but it does it gets my juices going about how to get a ballistatic ball to come out my shant hole. Or I mean, that does in the promo, in the commercial, the variable shant hole size is part of the commercial. So yeah, anyway.
Looks like Wilgart really wants you to go to that conference in Denver. Wilgart, he's going to need some backup. If he does that, he's going to need some serious backup because I think his life will be in danger.
Yeah. Red Racer 1 asked if I flew today. I did not fly today. Sorry. Rapid X. Could you post a link to your Discord channel? I don't have a Discord channel. Sorry.
Will we still see the P9 million again?
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's not going away. Not going away. There is a P9 trillion coming out. Let me just say that.
Awesome.
There's a P9 trillion coming out that I think it's funny, but we'll see.
Rapid X wants to know why his flassiers always crawl up. You can't keep them level.
See, that's why I laugh every day reading comments. Right there. Oh gosh. John Michelson, flat out, watermelons or pumpkins? Which large round produce pisses you off at the grocery store?
Oh dear.
It's a conspiracy.
Yep.
It's a produce conspiracy.
Yeah, it is a produce conspiracy. Flat out, his character hates balls. So, they always undermine him somehow. Glad you got Red Racer 1. You've been with me for a long time. Thank you. And I'm glad you got to fly today.
Hey, maybe you could do a video where you castrate yourself because you hate balls so much.
Well, that video actually is in the works. It has to do with when Flat Out was a child. So there is a video coming out down the road about Flat Out as a child and why it's really the answer to why he believes the earth is flat. And it has to do more with his hatred of balls than it does platitude.
Awesome. That's awesome. I can hardly, now I'm really eager. Really eager.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to come and crack the whip. I want to see these.
They're coming. But the problem is my videos are just getting increasingly more elaborate, and the ideas are getting more elaborate. And so it's going to be longer. The spacing of my videos is just going to increase. And
yeah.
But I mean, like the primary experimental videos, those are just going to get farther. And I've got a couple of ideas for doing filler work and some of that stuff, just to keep stuff coming out and people tuned in. But yeah, anyway.
Metal Slug's got a question. Can you see that one?
Metal Slugmaster, how do you keep from getting crumbs falling in your flazier when Mom breaks out the challenge?
When Mom what?
When Mom breaks up the cheese puffs for lunch.
Oh gosh. Yeah, they're in there, buddy. I can't help it. Oh gosh. That's funny. Oh, beautiful.
Fire up the vanishometer.
Yeah, the vanishometer. It's coming. Red Racer 1, it's coming.
Vanishometer.
Let's see. F. Lucifer, Wolfie had 2 Equinox challenge. If he has another, would you give it a go? Yes, always. Just because it's fun as heck. And he has another challenge. He has another challenge that's out there concerning with navigation that I'd really like to do something with, but it's just a matter of time and all that stuff. But yes, so, oh, gal. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
I wish I could be.
Well, this has been a blast.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
This has been a blast. We should have did it on the Conwick show or on the Conwick channel. It's a pretty successful hangout. We were up to 57 watching, so that's pretty darn good for Amy's backup channel with only 324 subs. So it's been fun, man. It's really been nice talking to you, and I really love what you're doing. And
thank you.
I just have to reiterate again. I know I've said it 5 times, but mockery. If anywhere mockery belongs, it's in this community.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for having me. I've been wanting to do an interview where I could just be me rather than Flat Out. So.
Well, I'm really grateful that you allowed me to be the one to interview you along with Aaron.
Yeah. It's been awesome. You guys have been a joy. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Awesome. Yeah. It's been glorious.
Yeah.
So I guess
totally look forward to what you got coming. You've left a lot of teasers, and I'm sure we're all waiting with bated breath.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the way, when Amy shuts the hangout, when she kills the broadcast, stick around for a minute. We can chat afterwards.
Yep.
And we'll figure out how to connect with you on Skype because
perfect.
I'm always this is the kind of thing that really gets me inspired to just be creative with silly ideas. And so maybe I could help you and give you some ideas and whatever I can do to help. I love what you're doing.
Awesome. And
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well,
happy to do some collab stuff with you. So look forward to that.
Right on.
Any final thoughts you want to put out there?
Keep it flat.
Keep it flat. Love you all. I love you all. Keep it flat.
Awesome.
Right. Well, if you guys don't know my final thoughts, if you're not watching a regular show, my final thoughts are always the same. Be good to each other and pick up your freaking trash.
And I will say, if you haven't, watch my playlist sometime. It's less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Short vids. Solving the problems on the planet.
Yep. I downloaded a bunch for my trip. I leave tomorrow afternoon, and I'm listening to a bunch on the road.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet.
I very much appreciate that. Anyway, good night, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in and listening to this show. Love always.
Oh, and good to see you, World Peas. Haven't seen you in a while. See you guys later.